What's up, Kings fans? We're here, and we're drinking beers, and we're talking about your Sacramento Kings. Oh man, that's delicious. Calvin, what are we drinking today?
Today we are drinking the Maui Brewing Company Big Swell IPA. It's one of their more popular beers. If you guys follow the channel, you know Barry and I are here in Maui for the summer, relaxing, enjoying ourselves, and supporting local businesses like Maui Brewing Company.
All right, so the topic today we are going to jump into is Ben Simmons. I know there's been trade rumors swirling all throughout the NBA, and the Kings are mentioned as a top suitor for Ben. But before we dive into that, I want to remind you all that we are giving away an autographed Marvin Bagley basketball on July 29th during our live stream of the NBA draft. If you would like
stream.
Live.
We will be live. The first time ever.
First time
Royal
ever.
Rebounds.
If you do want to be entered in this contest, we need 3 things from you. First off, you have to subscribe to the channel. You have to like this video. And then you have to watch it all the way to the end. And Calvin over here is going to tell you what to write below in the comments to be entered in. That's it.
To be continued, yes. You will know.
All right, Calvin. So we're going to dive right here into the subject. Ben Simmons on the Sacramento Kings. Tell me how you feel about this.
Well, a lot of speculation lately. The 76ers have officially said, we know it's true, we know it's a fact, Ben Simmons is available. Not every day that a all-star potential defensive player of the year becomes available on a max contract and at 24 years old, but he is available. There are 5 teams right now that are reported to have already contacted the Sixers about what it would take to acquire Ben Simmons. Minnesota, Indiana, Toronto, Sacramento, and Cleveland are the 5 teams that have contacted already. Specifically for Sacramento, I think that Ben Simmons would be a good fit. I like the idea of him on the Kings. We're going to get into why in a second here, but I also want to say or talk about what it's going to take to get him. Mark Stein has reported that he has talked to multiple league sources. One of them said that there is no way the Sixers would be willing to deal Ben Simmons to Sacramento if they were not getting either De'Aaron Fox or Tyrese Haliburton in return. To me, that's a no-go for the Kings. I would not give up either one of those players for him. There is another source that said if the Sixers are not blown away with another deal, the Kings could still put something together surrounding Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, and potentially 3 first-round picks that would be enough to get Ben Simmons. He's a really good defensive player. The Kings need that desperately. We talk about it all the time. I think he would be a great fit in that regard. I like his potential in the transition game as well. I think that when you've got guys like De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton already, adding somebody like Ben Simmons who's great in the open court, he's a good playmaker. At 6'10", 6'9", he can handle the ball. You've got pretty much 3 point guards if he is part of the team in one set. I like that. I like playing fast with them. I wanted the Kings to play fast all year this year, and I think they are. That's something that's a priority for them, but I think you add Ben Simmons to that, you can play even faster. Richaun Holmes runs the floor really well if he's re-signed. I like this fit. It's a little bit of a gamble, I think, because first of all, I'm not so sure what Ben Simmons is really thinking in terms of where he plays, what position he plays. Is he okay with playing power forward? It's not a real power forward because he's still going to handle the ball. He's still going to run the offense in certain situations, but he's definitely not going to play point guard on this team.
Not all the time.
Not all the time,
Yeah.
but not the majority of the time either. So is he going to be okay with that? Is he going to be okay with being sent to Sacramento? You know, you've been in the playoffs a bunch of times early on in your career. You just got paid a lot of money, and now you're in Sacramento.
Losing early on in his career as well.
He did. He was a part of that, but he also was not nearly as much of a loser as a lot of those Philadelphia teams were. He was able to bounce back pretty quickly. So it's a really interesting thing. He's owed a lot of money too. He already got De'Aaron Fox on a max contract. So what are your thoughts on this?
I like the potential here. I really do like the potential, but I wanna rewind back to the cost. As you mentioned, he's got 4 years left on a max contract. He's only 24 years old. Hasn't been outspoken. Hasn't asked for a trade or any stuff like that. It's pretty amazing. I can't think of the last time an all-star was floated around in this many trade rumors that's still locked up on a max contract for 4 years, who's this young, who hasn't had outbursts or any problems with teammates or anything like that. This is a
really
very
don't hear much out of him at all, actually.
Situation. Yeah, it is. And you look at him turning around a franchise like the Sixers. Obviously, he didn't do it alone, but that's something the Kings desperately need. But I want to talk a little bit more about the cost. It has been mentioned that the 76ers would love an all-star caliber player back in return. I know that's a pretty broad category there. Buddy Hield was an all-star. I mean, not an all-star, but he was a three-point champion on All-Star Weekend.
Participated in All-Star Weekend, yes.
Marvin Bagley, you could say, has all-star potential.
Yes.
If he can stay healthy. And then you mentioned the picks. I've seen anywhere from the 9th pick to 2 first-round picks to 3 first-round picks. I'd be interested to see what they're really looking at. For me, Tyrese Haliburton's off the table. If you guys watched the podcast last week on our GM for a day, Tyrese Haliburton's off the table too. I'm not trading either of those guys in this deal.
Fox and Haliburton.
Fox and Haliburton. But I'm still very, very interested in bringing Ben Simmons to this team. I would be willing to give up some future draft picks. I hope that Monty doesn't make the same mistake as many Kings GMs in the past in not protecting those picks. I think you got to at least top 3, hopefully top 5, protect those draft picks just in case. The question that I have for you, Calvin, is would you rather give up more future picks and hold on to this number 9 pick this year to add another player to this core? Or would you rather just get it out of the way, give up the 9th pick? Obviously, we can't trade next year's pick because you can't trade consecutive. So then it would be like a 2023 and a 2025 pick.
I think I would actually lean more towards giving up the future picks. Because if I'm getting a guy like Ben Simmons, I'm feeling pretty confident that this team has playoff potential to it. So that means that, and for a long time, because that's a young core.
Very young.
And it's a little bit of a gamble. You don't know if you're going to have Richaun Holmes re-signed. There are a lot of good players in this draft. Having a top 10 pick is pretty valuable. We know that. So I would feel better thinking that my picks are going to be late. They're not going to be in the lottery because we're going to be in the playoffs in the future. So I'll give up those future picks before I give up the 9th pick.
Do you think a deal of Marvin Bagley, Buddy Hield, 2022 first round, 2024, 2026 is enough to get Ben Simmons?
I think just like this article on Yahoo Sports says, I agree with it in that it is enough, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be, that's the deal that the Sixers will eventually come back to if they don't get something that they think is better right away. Obviously they say they want an all-star player in return, which makes sense. You're giving up an all-star
caliber
player.
That is
player.
very
Yes.
broad.
It's broad, but you have a general idea of the type of you're going to go after De'Aaron Fox first. You're going to go after Colin Sexton first. You're going to go after these bigger type players, and then it's a negotiation. They'll come back with a counteroffer, and so what is the final deal on the table going to be? And I think if it goes long, if this process takes long, then a deal for Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley and future picks becomes more and more enticing.
Do you think that deal makes sense for the Sixers?
I think it does make sense because
Does that make them a better team next year? We know that they are competing for a championship now.
Does it make them a better team? That's hard to say. I my gut is no. You said something earlier when we were off air that he has a Draymond Green type effect. I think that's totally true. He is a very similar style of player to Draymond Green. He can get to the basket better than Draymond can. They both can't shoot, but they also don't have to shoot.
Draymond can't shoot now.
Well,
he was on a weird shooting streak, right? For like a couple years where he was shooting great from three. And
yes, but that's beside the point. You know, that what they bring to the team in terms of their highest value is not something that you're necessarily going to see on a stat sheet. It's playmaking, it's defensive ability. Ben Simmons can guard positions 1 through 5. He can take the best offensive player on any other team on any given night, which is going to help guys like De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes, who's getting older. He won't have to guard, these big guys in the post sometimes, or he won't have to guard the team's best player. It's going to help keep him fresher. So, there's a lot of outside impact that you're not going to see on a stat sheet from Ben Simmons. Do I think that it's worth it for the Sixers, or are they going to be better with Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley? Probably not, but I like Tyrese Maxey a lot. I think that was a phenomenal pick for them last year. I think he's going to be a good pro, somebody that can take the reins at point guard for them. So, and they want shooting, like we said. The Sixers have been looking for shooting for forever, and Buddy Hield gives that to them.
I think Buddy Hield would be a huge addition to that team. But giving up Ben Simmons is a lot.
It is a lot.
And you look at a guy like Doc Rivers, who's had a ton of success in his career. It seems like every team he's had a guy that can't shoot, right? Like with the Clippers, it was DeAndre Jordan. When he was with the Celtics, it was Perkins, So he's used to having one of those 5 guys on the floor not being able to shoot. And with Joel Embiid stroking from 3, Ben Simmons is that guy, right?
When you make a 24-year-old player who's on a max contract, who is an all-star, all of a sudden when he just becomes available, like the team says, you know what, we're moving on from this guy. We mentioned that doesn't happen all the time, and that kind of detracts from your value. Other teams see that and they're like, they're trying to get rid of this guy. That means we might be able to get him for a steal, a steal in terms of we're getting an all-star.
If I'm De'Aaron Fox, I'm DMing Ben Simmons right now, and I'm saying, let's get this. There's always haters. There's always people that are going to doubt your abilities and the things that you can do. Seems like they're finally catching up to Ben Simmons in Philadelphia. And De'Aaron Fox is all too used to those, right? And he's looking to bring more talent to Sacramento because he wants to bring the Kings back to the playoffs. The Draymond Green role would be perfect on the Sacramento Kings. And we know how Vivek is a huge fan of that Warriors team, partial owner. So maybe he can kind of see it like that as well. But I think Ben Simmons having a Draymond Green impact on the Kings would be tremendous. Everyone wants to talk about his shooting woes, but he's really good at every other aspect of the game. I see Ben Simmons as kind of a mini LeBron James. Early on in LeBron's career, Definitely. LeBron couldn't really shoot that great. Obviously better than Ben Simmons now, but that was his one aspect that everyone knocked, right? Was free throw shooting and three-point shooting, but he could do everything else. And Ben Simmons is still young. He's 24, and he can do everything else. He's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger than most guys on the court. And if you put him on this Kings roster and he doesn't have to handle the ball all the time, he doesn't have that wear on him on offense where, he can just roll to the basket and catch oops or set screens and, maybe handle the ball every once in a while if he needs to. But that will allow him to unleash himself on the defensive end of the floor and really contain the best player. Play in transition, get those steals, make those plays.
Which is kind of what we saw from him this year in Philadelphia anyway.
Yeah. And you look at his numbers compared to Marvin Bagley's, and they're not a whole lot different as far as offensive. The points and the rebounds are pretty similar. But Ben Simmons has been pretty healthy. Other than his rookie year, missing that whole season. He played almost every game his first 2 years after that in the league. And then the last 2 seasons, he's played at least 50 games in these shortened seasons. So I love to see that. I'd be really happy to have another candidate for Rookie of the Year on the Kings next season. If they were able to keep this draft pick and get Ben Simmons, maybe we could have two candidates for Rookie of the Year. I, for one, would be ecstatic if the Kings could make this move.
It would be a monumental move for a lot of reasons. You know, number one, the King, as a small market team in Sacramento, the Kings have difficulty landing, signing, trading for big name players in the NBA. If you get somebody like this, that's the first domino to fall. Maybe he's not thrilled about going to Sacramento, but other teams, other players see that, and suddenly the narrative is, well, maybe Sacramento is a good place for me to sign. They make the playoffs next year. This team is up and coming. They're young. You know, this is a step in the right direction for things that are bigger outside of the organization than just the play on the court.
Everyone wants to knock his shooting ability, but he's a phenomenal passer, phenomenal ball handler. And for me, if you can handle the ball, you don't really need to shoot that well. If everybody else around you can shoot. De'Aaron Fox is improving.
You have to make the roster around you fit.
De'Aaron Fox is improving on his three-point shot. We've seen Tyrese Haliburton hitting threes with the best of them. Harrison Barnes is a capable three-point shooter.
Definitely.
So I don't really see a problem having him out there on the court. I'm a little concerned about the fit if the Kings are to re-sign Richaun Holmes, having those two guys on the court together, because Rashawn's not really known as a three-point shooter. We've seen him hit some threes in practice and all that, but
and in games,
he doesn't really take that shot that much, right? So
no, and he shouldn't.
Maybe it'll give him an opportunity. But if you're looking just at the starting five of De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Haliburton, Harrison Barnes, Ben Simmons, Richaun Holmes, gotta say that team's making the playoffs next season.
That's a great defensive team. Well, capable of being a great defensive team and a great fast break team, great transition team.
And a great passing team.
Yeah.
And you look at the last time the Kings had success, what did they do? They passed the ball, right? Pass the ball. Everybody can pass the ball. Everybody was a willing passer. And when everyone can pass that well, you don't have to shoot as great because you're always finding somebody that's open.
Yeah.
And a guy as big as Ben Simmons, you can get a lot of different mismatches with him. So he's going to get double teamed. And Richaun Holmes is going to be open. Tyrese Haliburton's going to be open. Harrison Barnes is going to be open. So I, for one, would love to have Ben Simmons on this team. It's just a matter of what the asking price or the final asking price is.
True. And then I think the point about how do you fill out the rest of the roster, you know, that's a big factor for me too.
Real quick, I want to remind you all, if you do enjoy this content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video. It really does help out with the YouTube algorithm and allows more Kings fans to see this type of content. Terrence Davis reportedly declined his qualifying offer. He is now a restricted free agent. The Kings can offer or actually match any contract that he is offered, and it's reported that he is looking for some upwards of $9 million per season. What are you going to do in this situation, Cal, if you are the Kings?
I like Terrence Davis a lot, and I think $9 million is not too much for him. He is still very young. He had, in a very short amount of time with Sacramento, by far his best year. Only played 27 games with the Kings, but averaged over 11 points a game. He only shot 43% from the field, which I don't like, but 37% from three is good.
And he made some big
free throw
defensive
shooter.
Plays.
He did, and he's, I think he is the right type of player for the Kings to have. Plus, if you're going to bring in a guy like Ben Simmons, then you're going to have to find people that you can get a pay cut on, right? There are some free agents out there that I like, that I think would be good fits for the Kings that we talked about last week when we did our GM scenarios. Tim Hardaway Jr. is one of those guys. J.J. Redick is one of those guys. Alec Burks is one of those guys. All guys who can score, all guys who can shoot. In Alec Burks and Tim Hardaway's case, they're athletic. They can play defense as well. If you trade for Ben Simmons, probably not going to have enough money to sign Tim Hardaway at $20 million a year.
You're not getting
probably
Tim
not
Hardaway
going to sign J.J. Redick either. So this is a very dependent situation. I think Terence Davis is a very valuable player for the Kings. He's still learning. He's still getting better. So I think he's a great guy to have coming off your bench. somebody who wants to prove himself still in this league. And like you mentioned, he had some big games for the Kings this past year. 27, 27, 24 points.
Yeah. I
really down the stretch. He played huge for them when De'Aaron Fox was out. He really stepped up.
I love what he brought to the Kings this year. Couple big 27-point games, a 24-point game, 23-point game. But for me, the biggest thing with him is when he's out on the court, he's all hustle. He's go, go, go. It doesn't matter what the score is. If the Kings are down 20 or up 20, he's ready to play, and he's balling out there. And I love to see that energy. And I feel like that kind of stuff is contagious. And when you bring in a guy, if you bring in a guy like Ben Simmons, who, awesome player, I'm totally on board with bringing him in at the right price. But you look back to when he was younger, before he got drafted, there was concerns about him, right, about his effort, the amount he tried. They said, wow, he's done so well, but he doesn't even try hard. For me, if you're going to have a guy like that on your team, everybody else has to be over the top, work ethic. Terence Davis is one of those guys. I'd be happy to have him back at $9 million. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'd pay much over $12 million per season for him.
Yeah, that seems a little high.
But I would love to have him back at $9 million per season.
You know, his first experience in the NBA was on a championship level team. I think that goes a long way. You know, if that's what you come into this league and that's your first experience, then that's going to be, not for everybody, but that sticks with people. That's going to be your mentality moving forward.
Kings got to continue to bring in winning players from winning franchises and teach the rest of these guys how to win and move on. Calvin and I are very excited for this upcoming offseason. We wish the best for the NBA Finals for the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns.
We got ourselves a series.
May the best team win.
All evened up.
We will see you guys all soon. In the meantime, go Kings.
Go Kings.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, wait, hold on. I didn't say about the ball. So real quick, guys, we are giving, like we said at the top of this episode, this Marvin Bagley autographed basketball away on our live broadcast during the NBA draft.
July 29th.
July 29th. It's coming up, man. 2 weeks away from draft day. What do you have to do to be entered in the giveaway, the sweepstakes? First of all, you got to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and you got to leave a comment below in the screen. Very simple. It is 2 keys on your computer, the numbers 3 and 5, which of course are Marvin Bagley's numbers on his jersey. 35.
Any comment you want, just make sure 35 is included and you will be entered in to win the ball.
I am wearing one of our very own Royal Rebounds t-shirts. These are all available on our online store. It's on our website, royalrebounds.com. We have this along with many other shirts, sweatshirts, hats, all sorts of apparel available. Go ahead and check it out. And we would love to hear feedback from that too if you want to leave it in the comments. Something that you want to see up on the store, color combinations, we're open to it.
Show your support for your Sacramento Kings. Show your support for our channel. We will see you guys all soon. In the meantime, go Kings.
Go Kings.
Thanks, guys.